I felt that I was in a sort of a trance. And all of a sudden, it was like I was pulsating. I became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Felt I was out in the universe, that I was as big as the universe. I received the knowledge of this is how big you are, Jannecke. And the next insight that came to me was a feeling of this immense love I had for myself. But at the same time, I also felt an enormous love coming towards me from something else.
Still have questions after watching these videos? Perfect. Come hang out with me on Wake Up Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern, where we will answer your questions live. And you never know what surprise guests might show up. Thank you for watching. My guest today is Jannecke Øinæs, who may look familiar to you because she was a child star, but she is also the host of her own YouTube channel called Wisdom from North, where she has interviewed over 900 spiritual experiencers with 32 million views. But she has also had her own incredible out-of-body experiences. So, Jannecke, a warm welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm excited to be here because usually I'm the one interviewing others. So it's nice sometimes to be interviewed myself. So thank you for that opportunity.
I am so excited to talk to you. I kind of feel like I literally would not be here because every person in this space has stood on your shoulders because you created the very first YouTube spiritual channel that I'm aware of in 2012, which is a long time ago. Most people were not even watching YouTube, and you're interviewing Greg Braden and all of these other people, which I just find so incredible. And I know because of my experiences and other podcasters who do this, none of us get into this because we're trying to make money doing it. We do it because it's a calling. And I wondered, because I know that you were a child star, you transitioned, but something caused you to do this. And I'd love to hear the story around that because I'm guessing since you interview everybody else, people don't always know this about you.
That is true. And just stop me if it gets too long or because it's quite a long story, but I can make it shorter if you'd like to. Because it is connected to my childhood as a child star, you can say in Norway, because I'm Norwegian. I think that's why the name of my show is Wisdom from North also, even though that was a download that came to me though. But it's all connected. So from why I was around 7 years old, I was singing all the time. And I landed the role of Little Cosette in Les Miserables in Norway. And after that, I just got role after role after role as a musical theater artist. I played Annie, Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, Rizzo in Grease. And I had a lot of success. And I think also at the same time, I've always been quite humble. I'm not a person who's like taking up my space too much. And the sort of the feedback I got from those around me was that you need to keep your feet on the ground and do not believe you're a prima donna. And I took that to heart as a little child because I was afraid of taking up too much space since I was so fortunate to have all this success and all these roles that any child could dream of, to be Annie as 11 years old, where I was on the front of the magazines and papers and on television. That is a dream come true, right? And I did love it. And my deepest dream was to become this musical theater artist on Broadway or in London. I thought that was my gift. And I've always felt connected to the divine. At that time, I had more like a Christian background. And I thought, God had given me this gift of singing and acting so I could give something to the world. But then what happens is that I somehow lose connection to myself because I feel it's all about the performance, all about shining on stage and doing what the adults are telling me to do. But in school, I need to dim my light in order to fit in and not make my friends envy me. So I realize now, looking back, of course, and doing a lot of healing work, that I was not at home in myself. So fast forward to I'm like 20 years old and I'm still having that big dream of becoming a big musical theater artist. Then I land the role of Rizzo in Greece and I have this new success as an adult, like young adult. And then I land even the main role in Little Shop of Horrors as Audrey. And I'm 21 years old. I'm at the peak of my career. I earn great money. I have a very handsome boyfriend. And I'm like, this is it, right? But then I start becoming hoarser and hoarser. And my voice is not working properly. And I cannot hit the high notes. And I'm just about to start to rehearse for Little Shop of Horrors. So I go to this doctor and he puts this long thing down my throat and he's like, you can't sing. You can't even talk for months. You have big nodules on your voice. And what happens in that moment is that I intuitively realize that the life that I've been prepared for ever since I was 7 years old is not going to happen. Like it was like someone took my future away because I realized I cannot become a musical theater artist with a broken voice. Even though I get surgery, I knew it would never be the same. So what happens is that I quite fast fall into a depression where I develop anxiety to speak because I'm just afraid of losing my voice forever. My boyfriend leaves me and I go into a deep, dark depression where I'm, in a depression, nothing much is happening. Like it's a really dark place where I didn't feel any emotion. Like everything was flat, everything was gray. And I felt such, lack of self-love. Like I blamed myself. I remember I sat on a bench and I was like, why universe? Why God? I thought God was punishing me because I couldn't understand why was I given a voice and then the voice was taken away. And I didn't know what to do with my future because I felt like I don't have any other talents. Like, what am I going to do? I really felt like a nobody. And then, this lasted for a long time, this depression. I got my voice back. I had surgery and I went to the US and I studied and had an education. But when I came back to Norway again, I fell into my second depression because then everybody had forgotten about Jannecke in Norway. So I didn't get work. And what was happening was that I fell into a depression because I hadn't healed anything. And then the healing work started, where I again was sitting on a bench. I had nothing to do. Didn't get any jobs. My girlfriend was having, getting boyfriends and even getting kids. And I was sitting there asking all these questions to the universe. Like, why? Like, what's the point with my life? What am I supposed to do? And all of a sudden, all these answers started to come to me. And I started questioning also my belief systems. I realized that I had been thinking all these negative thoughts about myself, and I had a misunderstanding about the power I had, and a misunderstanding to me about what life was about. Like, I really thought life was about making it, becoming someone, showing the world that I was worthy of just existing. And then I realized, but I'm valuable just by being me. Like, I don't need to be on a stage to prove my value. I am valuable by just being alive. And there's got to be a deeper reason why I have this depression. Like maybe in 20 years, I'll be in a totally different place. So these more productive thoughts started coming to me. And I started to question everything, like everything we were taught in school. And is it birth to death and nothing more? Or am I the boss of my life? Can I create my life as I wanted? And then I realized that, I had self-confidence all my life in singing, in acting, playing tennis, being good at stuff. But I had no self-esteem because when you took that away, I had no foundation. So I realized that I need to love myself. I need to activate more self-love because that is what I'm lacking. And that started the journey of doing everything as a gift towards myself. And when my self-love started to grow, then my life also started to change. So I ended up leaving the theater. I got a few roles after that, but eventually I left the theater because I just felt that there's something deeper here. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel like I'm contributing to the world in the way I do best in a way, even though I didn't know what it was. Just by singing or acting, like there's something deeper here. So I thought it was to become a primary teacher. So I studied to become that, but that didn't fuel me. Like I felt that I'm lacking something. I love teaching the kids, but I really want to teach them about the big questions of life and not math and gym and Norwegian. And like I had no passion for teaching them that. And then I came to that moment where I was sitting on a bench again with my father this time. And I said, you know, I know that being a primary teacher is the most important job in the world, right? Everybody says that. But to be honest, I'm not passionate about it. And what I really want to do, Dad, is to travel around the world and interviewing spiritual teachers about the big questions of life. And in that moment, when I'm hearing say that, I look at him and it all makes sense to me. I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. And here I'm around 30 years old. It's 2012. And I realize that everything in my life now makes sense. I realize why I went to the US to study, because then it's more easy for me to interview Americans. I realized that I had been going through a depression, so I could actually see the dark side and the light side and have empathy and understand more about this reality and the universe. And I realized that I had been on stage because I wasn't comfortable in front of a camera. And I realized why I've always been so spiritually interested. But I thought, oh, since I'm clairvoyant, no, since I'm not clairvoyant, I can't work with it. But now I realize I can. And this is my deeper passion. And I started, and it was so weird. Within a week, I got 2 gigs, like out of the blue. And I hadn't had gigs for years. And I got $2,500 from one gig, which made me be able to buy a camera. And then $2,500 from another gig, which made it possible for me to build a website. And I started interviewing, interview after interview after interview. And that's where it all started. And actually, the name Wisdom from North dropped into my mind that same day when I was jogging, because then I was full of energy and it was just like, Wisdom from North. There it is. It all happened in one day. And I haven't looked back in a way because I'm still doing it. Obviously, it has grown to much more than just the podcast. We have a membership. We have online courses. I'm writing my own book. I have my own course. But this is my passion. At least I feel this is what I'm supposed to do now. And I couldn't think of anything better than to do. Like, this is my hobby. I love having these conversations. And yeah, that's the story.
That is such a great story. And I'm curious, who were some of your first influential spiritual teachers when you start going into this space? Because I'm always curious about how this starts. Who were you reading?
Yeah.
Who were you following?
Yeah, you just mentioned before we started recording that you watched many of my episodes on Jeff Mara, and I was binge watching Lilu May. I don't know if you know who she is. I
No.
mean, I want to give credit to her because she was the one really starting with this. She did interview after interview, and she traveled around the world and she was interviewing all these thought leaders. And I saw several episodes every day. And I think that inspired my idea. So what I actually did was I wrote her an email and said, can I do the same as you? And she gave me her blessing. And then I was like, I can do it. And I started my own show. So I want to, give a thanks to her because sometimes we are inspired by others and think we can do the same, right? Just in our own unique way. And that's important for me to say because many times people are like, I can't start a YouTube channel because others are saying or doing the same I am. But no one is doing it exactly the way you're doing it. You are unique. And if you feel the calling, it's there for you. And you have an audience then if you feel the calling. I'm sure of it. But, it was teachers like Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Brian Weiss. I've never
Me too.
interviewed, the past lives. Um, yeah, who else? Byron Katie, Akiane Kramarik. Yeah, those, the ones who came before all the channelers now, like, I wouldn't say the old ones, but those who have been around for a long time, that was who I was following.
I want to bring up Greg Braden specifically because I know that your channel started in 2012. I had been on a spiritual journey for a long time by 2012, but I experienced a significant loss. And there was something that was going on universally to wake up a lot of people. And I remember in 2011 or 2012, before the Mayan calendar ended, finding Greg's book, Fractal Time, and understanding that the earth was going through this elliptical phase where we were being the furthest away from the sun, where we would feel the most alone. But in 2012, it wasn't really the end, it was the beginning of coming back, where you would kind of be halfway back by 2025. And I feel like we all talk about this great awakening. You talk about it on your show, I talk about it on mine. I'd love to hear your perspective on that because I know it was part of your journey.
Well, yeah, I mean, I believe that something happened. I don't look at myself as a clairvoyant. I look at myself as someone who's interviewing people with different perspectives. And I don't want to speak out from this is what I know. I want to speak, I can do that from my own spiritual experiences, which I've had. But when it comes to 2012, I just know what others know about it. Like the Mayan calendar ended and there was a shift. And I remember we spoke so much about it in 2012 and 21st of December. It was going to be a big shift. But I do believe, though, that there was a great shift. And that is because I got the calling. My best friend got the calling, started her astrology. A lot of the spiritual teachers I've talked to started in 2012. And a lot of people are saying in 2012, this shift happened. I had a divorce or I quit my job. So I do think that it was sort of a start of an awakening wave, if you can call it that many of us got the calling and heard it and started to change our lives and started this trajectory in a way. So yeah, I do think there was a shift in energy.
And then you also, I talked about in the introduction that you had these out of body experiences, some really cool ones that you facilitated yourself by training yourself. So will you share these experiences with us?
Yeah, sure. So these experiences came from a place in me where I needed proof because from my depression, I started to read spiritual books and metaphysics, and that's what helped me come through it. That's really, I mean, it was a spiritual awakening where I was awakening to, oh my gosh, there's so much more. So I was immersed with this and my life started changing. But then it struck me that, oh my goodness, I mean, I'm just believing this. I don't know. Like I'm reading all these books and hear these teachers, but how can I know it's true if I haven't really experienced anything? So that started a quest to have real experience for myself. So I started this course, Astral Travel and Dreams Online. And this was the time where we were going into internet cafes. It's so long ago. So I was studying it online and printed out these things. And funnily enough, it was a period of my life where I lost my voice again. I've constantly, during my life, have had troubles, even after surgery. But that was sort of a blessing because then I couldn't work. So I was on a sick leave. So I had the possibility to not talk with anyone and go within. So I went full in and practiced every day meditations, concentrations, exercises where I was concentrating my mind to be able to hold the focus for a long time. And it's funny because now I can't do that at all. Like I'm too immersed in my work. And honestly, I just want to be here more grounded. But at that time, I really wanted to ascend or escape a bit and discover more of the universe. And I did. So there was several experiences. I had one experience that was really beautiful and profound in the way I felt I received a message. So one of the exercises was that we were going to meditate on the heart. And even though we didn't feel the heartbeats, we were going to imagine them. And eventually I started to hear them. And I think I was lying there an hour on my bed. And it was like the heart was pulsating, and I just listened to it and listened to it. And you feel all of a sudden, or I felt, that I was in a sort of a trance. And all of a sudden, it was like I was pulsating out of my body without it being an out of body experience. It was more an experience that I became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like I was expanding and expanding. And I was expanding so widely. So I felt I was out in the universe, that I was as big as the universe. And I can explain it like the genie in Aladdin's lamp. Like the genie was suddenly huge. So I was huge. I had the feeling of how enormous I have. And this is many, many years ago. So it's more like a memory now than I remember, every detail of the experience. But what stayed with me was that I received the knowledge of this is how big you are, Jannecke. Like this is how huge you are. And I felt myself as enormous. And in the next sort of moment or at the same time, I felt that this is the truth of everybody else, that every soul is this enormous. And sort of the next insight that came to me was a feeling of this immense love I had for myself. And I mentioned my lack of self-love. Well, now I felt this enormous love for myself. But at the same time, I also felt an enormous love coming towards me from something else. So it was sort of this duality that I felt my own self-love, and I was also loved. And that just changed everything, because then I knew that love is all there is. I am loved, and I also love myself. And when I remember when I sort of woke up or opened my eyes, I wanted to run out on the street and tell everybody how loved they are, and the truth about who you are. But I quickly realized that, yeah, then I'll become that crazy woman. So I didn't do that. So that was one of my experiences. And the other experiences I had was more about lucid dreaming and real out-of-body experiences. And it started with lucid dreaming. So I did the course, and the goal was to have an out-of-body experience or a lucid dream. And a lucid dream is, if someone is new to that, is that you wake up in a dream. So it's not like you're waking up to this reality. You're waking up to the dream reality. So you realize all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm in a dream. And then you can navigate from there. And that is pretty mind-blowing in itself. When I started to wake up in another reality, and I felt myself just as real, and I felt everything just as real, just in another way. Like you can jump, you can fly, you can do anything. But what really stood out was when I had that concrete out-of-body experience. Because that's another way of sort of getting out of the body, is that you're projecting out of your body consciously. So there was another time where I was lying on my bed, and I did all these techniques that are very pointed to that experience. So I had learned that, okay, when you come into this vibrational state, what you should do is you can roll out of your body, or you can go out of your body through your head, and there's different ways of doing it. And until then, it just sounded weird, but I just felt that, this must be possible, because they speak about it in such a serious manner. So, and then I was lying there, and all of a sudden this vibration starts to happen. And it's a feeling I've never, ever had, and not again, in my life, that my whole body or system, not just my body, but everything was shaking and vibrating, like I had electricity in my whole body. And then I felt very heavy and very light at the same time. It was sort of like I was two places. I was two me's in a way. And then I realized, okay, it's happening, it's happening. And then I had learned in the course that you must not get afraid or excited. You just need to keep calm. So I kept calm. I was like, it's happening, it's happening. And then I was putting my mind to roll myself out of my physical body. And when I did that, all of a sudden, poof, I was standing next to my body and next to my bed. And that was surreal. So here I'm aware that, okay, I'm standing next to my bed, and in my bed, that's my body. And I was like slowly peeking, but then I was like, I cannot handle to look at myself. I just saw something was lying there. And I was like, no, I'm going to follow like the intention I have, because you usually make a plan for what's going to happen if you get out of the body to spend your time in a valuable way, because it's really valuable to be able to reach, these mystical experiences. So I had my wall there, and I was like, I can go through the wall. I know, I'm in a spiritual realm. But I was like, this is not possible, because it does feel so real and it does feel so concrete. So I was like, I can do it. So I went through my wall. That was an interesting experience. And then I flew through my window up in the air, up to the sky, because I still at that time had sort of like this childlike yearning to meet God. And the first thing I would think about was to go up to heavens to find God. I don't know if I would have done that today. I would probably looked elsewhere. But yeah, so I flew up to the heavens and just flew and flew and flew. And I did not meet God. But what I saw in the sky when I was like hovering in the sky was all these telephones, like a cluster of telephones, like all like around each other like that. And then I was obviously attracted to that. So I flew closer. And then I heard that these telephones were ringing, and they were like picked up somehow, not by hands, but they were like picked up. And through the telephones, or I heard when they were picked up, I heard prayers, like prayers from people all over the world. And that stunned me. And all this sort of came at the same time, this knowing that these are prayers from people from all over the world. And the next insight, without me seeing it, it was just an insight that, oh, all these prayers are heard. All the prayers are heard. And what I realized was that this was an answer to my question that I hadn't questioned consciously. But during the tsunami, I think it was in 2004, wasn't it? I had a thought that since over 200,000 people have died, how is it room for my prayers? Like God does, or the universe does not have room for my prayers and feelings, because other people need God more. And that was the answer, that the universe, or the all that is, or spirit, have room for everyone, and every prayer is heard. And that was just so profound for me, because then I realized I've been heard all along, and my prayers are also heard, and so is everybody else's prayers.
I got goosebumps when you said that, Jannecke.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty profound. It was for me. And that's what I'm experiencing when I'm interviewing people, that they're also receiving answers to things they have wondered about years ago. And that spirit is listening to us and hearing us and knows everything about us, everything. And we're not alone. And that's what I needed. I think I didn't need to have another grand experience. That was enough for me. And after that, I did a couple of lucid dreams, and it lasted a bit longer. But after that, I was actually satisfied. I felt more a need to be grounded and be present in doing my work. And I barely seldom practice lucid dreaming anymore because I have another approach to spirituality. I feel like I've received my answers, that I am loved and the truth of who we are. And now I just want to be Jannecke and be present in the world.
So, how does it change you when before you have faith that these things are true, and now you have a personal experience that nobody can take away from you, that you know beyond any doubt are real for you?
It has changed everything, I think, because I feel so much assured in my work. I have less fear if somebody tells me that, oh, you just believe this or don't believe in my work or thinks it's silly. I just, I'm calm about it because I know better. Like I know my own experience. And that is just as true as I'm sitting here today. And then I also know how important I feel my work is for myself. And yeah, it just makes me less afraid of what other people think because it doesn't really matter because I know what I know. And they don't have to believe in it at all. But we all believe in all these different things. But this is me, this is my life. And I know this happened. And it changed everything for me because I'm relaxed about what I'm doing. And it's easy for me to speak about it because it's my own experience and no one can take it away, like you said. So I'm really happy about it because I think without it, it would be like this unsureness whether those I'm interviewing, are they talking the truth? Now I know that, when they come with all these kinds of experiences, I am open to that because I know so much is possible. So much is possible.
So, not only have you had your own experiences, but you've interviewed 900, over 900 spiritual experiencers. So, what have you gathered about why you think we're having this earthly experience?
Well, I feel like it's becoming deeper and deeper in a sense that more and more knowledge is coming forward now. And I'm still mind blown almost every time I have an interview because,
It's same.
yeah, because it seems like we're allowed to receive more knowledge now. I didn't get this information 5 years ago on my channel at all. So, and about extraterrestrials or inner earth beings or that life is a great experiment and that we might come from the stars and we were seeded and all these things. I mean, so much information is coming forward that I used to be a bit skeptical about, but now I hear it from so many more angles. So more and more pieces is coming together. Obviously, people are experiencing things in their own unique way, and they have their own unique words to, uh, yeah, that they talk about it with. But 99%, I've heard a lot of the same, that we come from love. We're all one. We're here to, it's an experiment. We're here to evolve and we're part of it. Like we're part of creating it. And we are connected to the stars. The star beings are our family. We're much more connected than we think. And that life goes on, that there's no such thing as death, that this is just an experience. But it is an important experience. What we're actually doing in this life is very important, I've understood. Even though we're internal, it is important the choices we're making. And that humanity is now stepping over or stepping into the heart chakra and higher consciousness, higher levels of beingness. Um, yeah, yeah. Now I don't remember your question.
You answered it perfectly. I asked you how everything tied in with all that you've experienced and all that you've interviewed to understand why we're here, and you answered it perfectly.
Okay, good. Okay.
You
Yeah.
also said something that caught my attention when you were talking about those out of body experiences. You said in those early days, you would have gone to heaven to find God, but today you would have gone somewhere else. What does that mean?
Well, I will go inside. I won't go out there, not up to the heavens or out somewhere. I will go inside my heart. That's where I find God or the universe. I actually like to say universe now, but I feel God and spirit is the same for me. Yeah, I think we have everything inside. And I've also had that experience in an ayahuasca experience, actually. But that is sort of another experience because then you drink something and you get an experience. But the other experiences was just me not taking anything, and I had like a natural spiritual experience. But I had a need to try ayahuasca to see what it was some years ago, and I never done it after that. But I did have an experience that the whole universe is inside of me. That was a profound experience. It was like it was opposite. Actually, I haven't thought about that. It was opposite of the expansive experience I had when I became like huge. This was like it went inwards. Like I discovered, like, oh my gosh, the universe is inside of me. And I saw all these stars, and I just felt myself as a like this. Like the universe was inside here. And I realized that I'm like the universe is inside all of us. And that points to as above, so below. So everything out there is also inside of here. And what's inside of here is also out there. So I just need to go within, and that's where I find spirit.
I am so glad that you said that because that matches my experience exactly. When I had an experience with, and I, so like you, I used to say God. I don't say God as much anymore because it's triggered with a lot of different religious contexts that don't necessarily fit what I'm talking about. I love universe, but I like source also. But when
Mm.
I had my experience with source, there was nothing outside of that. But guess what? It wasn't something outside of me either. It was me. It was everything. It was the drink. It was the phone. It was the rock. It was my dog. There was nothing it wasn't. And the knowledge that came from the source wasn't like knowledge that we have here on earth, where you're learning formulas and you're understanding concepts. Like maybe you could understand everything about the body all the way down to quantum physics. It wasn't that. It was knowledge beyond knowledge. There was nothing that source wouldn't understand. As soon as the thought came to create it, it knew everything about its journey, everything. There was nothing it didn't know. There was nothing you would ask it in that place.
Well,
Nothing went without understanding.
I'd love to hear your experience one day.
I would
Like,
love to. I would love to share my experience one day because it's so deep. It changes everything,
it
Jannecke. Like
changes everything.
everything. It changes everything. And it's interesting. I love that you brought up the prayers because I've had some NDEers who have had some experiences where they physically saw prayers also. One saw them as streams of musical notes that were coming from people. She could even discern, they had colors to them. She could discern prayers from people that were praying for her from her church and her daughter, and they were all different and they were all nuanced and they had a music and they were a note and they were a sound. And it was amazing. But when you realize that you are all of it, it's kind of hard to pray again because you're really praying to yourself because you're God looking out of your eyes having this experience. And that's when you go, wow, the more I uncover about this, the more I don't understand. So
I
do you agree with that too?
Oh, 100%. Oh my gosh. I mean, the more question I ask and the more answers I get, the more questions I get. It just keeps expanding and expanding. And I thought that I would get the answer to the universe when I started out in 2012. And I'm just laughing now because I had no idea what. Yeah. No, I mean, the universe just amazes me more and more in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
My gosh, I mean, everything has a meaning. Like, there's just
Yes.
such a deeper meaning and so much more magic behind everything. And the beautiful mystical experiences I've heard. I love hearing about them because that makes sense. Because when I look at the world today and I see horror and I see wars, without my spirituality, that would be really hard because I'm such a sensitive person. I have a really hard time with news. Like I can drop into melancholy, and I've realized that nothing happens there, Jannecke. I can go into depression again because of the world. Like I need to go into the light in order to do my work. And that's where metaphysics really gives me the explanation. And I also the soothing feeling that there is more. I know there's more. This makes sense. Like there is another side there, or they're here. Like spirits are here. They're all with us. And we have volunteered to be here. And there's no death. Like there's no death. That just knowing that in my out of body experience that I do exist outside this body, that makes me less afraid of living and I can live stronger and more powerfully. So yeah, it makes all the difference.
Oh, so beautiful. Everything you said, I feel like we have mirrored each other's journeys. It's incredible. I too stopped watching news 10 years ago. I won't even watch commercials. So I have like XM radio, so I don't have to listen to commercials. I have YouTube Premium, so I don't listen to the commercials. Not because I don't want to buy what they're selling, it's because it's all a vibration. And in order to do this work or to stay in this place, you have to protect your energy. And so many people don't protect it anymore. I feel like our attention is constantly being grabbed at in so many ways. And it's
Mm.
getting harder and harder to get attention because of social media and how our world has changed since we were growing up without it. But now, because of that, all of the news facilities have to use harsher, more dramatic, more fearful tactics because they're vying for the attention of everything else. And I feel like that's the downward spiral we've gone into because of the vying for attention that's so hard to get. So I don't feel like there's a reality in what's being shown to us in a lot of things because I feel like it's all been heightened to get our attention. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I do watch the news, but I'm very aware when I watch the news. And what I find interesting is that everything that I gotta say, everything that astrologers and the clairvoyants are saying on my show was going to happen is happening. That everything is coming out to the into the light, and I find that really interesting, and it's happening in my own country as well. And what I also come to that for my spirituality has developed from being a bit like, oh, ascension going out there, denouncing my ego, to actually embrace more of my humanness and also my shadows, working more with shadow work, and also coming in contact with anger, for instance, because that is something I pushed down a lot because I was such a good girl. And in Norway, we have this jantelaw, and that is like this belief system or unwritten rules that we're supposed to dim our light and not believe that we are anybody. And that makes us very powerless, not able to change anything because we should just keep down and not raise our hand and ask questions. And I think that anger is also a higher frequency than shame and guilt. So it's not, of course, the highest at all, but anger can, like, that made help me actually also through my depression. Like, enough is enough. Why do I talk like this to myself? And maybe not everything we were taught in school is correct. Like, I got this power. And I also think it's time to come in contact that see sort of the flip side, the positive side of anger, which is to say enough is enough. We don't want this. We don't want leaders who are corrupt, and we don't want war. Like we want a better world, a more peaceful world. With I even said it on my Norwegian podcast, like leaders who have a value system that people know about. Like they should honestly speak about what their values are. What are they going to do in their leading position to make our country a better place? Like they should go through a personal development program. That's what I hope for our leaders in the future, to know that those who are leaders will be in their heart and make decisions that are coming from a good intention, not from power intention, because that's what we've seen in Norway. That's what we see in the world. So I think that light workers and people, spiritual people, also need to come in contact with that feeling enough is enough. Let's do something about it. Let's say no to this. We don't want this. This is what we want instead. Otherwise, if we don't do anything, like we can meditate on all this, but I also believe in physicality, that we're human, physical being for a reason, and we should use our voice also to say enough is enough and no.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're also a massive advocate of self-love. So for the
Yes.
people who are watching, can you give people a few helpful hints and ideas on how to connect with their self-love and the power of their soul? Because I feel like we're both super passionate about this.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of my passions, like you said. We spoke about it, that the universe source is inside of us. So if source is inside of us, we are source, and source is love. Not loving ourselves would be to go upstream and being against the current and doing what's unnatural. So loving ourselves is the most natural thing you can do. It's honoring your creation. We are loved, but we also love ourselves because that's the truth of who we are. And that perspective might hopefully help you also. Like Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So when you look at yourself as I am love, that's the truth of who I am. That can perhaps shift something within you already. Because we have people who are saying that, oh, don't be so self-indulgent and that's egoistic and all that. But actually, those who do not have self-love, those are the ones who need the power and pushing other people down. Those who really love themselves, they have a lot to give to others. And so that is one perspective. And just think about yourself as this, you started out as an embryo, which was tiny, tiny, tiny. And then poof, you are a perfect human being. And all your cells knew exactly what to do. They had a divine intelligence, so they became a brain and became a heart. Could that be a coincidence? And did your cells ask, is she worthy enough? I don't know if I want to be a heart or be a brain. Like all these cells were created you. Think about how loved you must be, and think about when your cells inside of you knows your direction, knows what to do. There is a map inside. And speaking of that, in your hands, there are all these lines that are unique to you. And our ancestors and spiritual traditions, they thought that our intention for this life lies in your hands. And that is unique to you. Think about how loved you must be. You have your own map in your hands. Like you're meant to be doing something. You're meant to express yourself and be who you are. And obviously, how we love ourselves is also something I think we need to practice, because it's not that it's because it's something new to learn. It's because we have forgotten it. But you knew it as a child, as this embryo, and then becoming a child, you knew self-love. But we live in a world that closed it down for us and told us what we need to become, something else than we are. So it's a re-remembering, and we do that through many different tools, which I'm writing in my Norwegian book now, because I'm writing a book about self-love, about changing your belief systems. That is one way to start. Realizing the truth of who you are, going into shadow work, starting to own radically your shadows, like my envy, when I envy people, or when I'm impatient or too loud or too soft or too this or too that. Love that too. Can you love that too? Can you accept that? So, an inner child work, and also following your purpose, following your dreams, that is also showing yourself love. So there are many, many tools and many ways and paths where we can work with it. But I think the most important was what I said in the beginning and with a hand, to realize the truth of who you are and start there, like anchoring yourself in that truth and start to live as that is the truth.
So much wisdom from North.
Well, thank you.
Well, I would imagine that there are people who are watching who want to connect with you. So tell them about all of the things that you are offering that people can work with you, watch what you're doing, and take some of these courses and memberships that you have.
Thank you for that opportunity. Well, obviously, there's the YouTube channel, and that's free. And we give out 2 episodes a week, and that's Wisdom from North on YouTube. And then if you go to my website, wisdomfromnorth.com, we have the heart of it all is the membership that we've been running since 2018. And that's where I invite some of my guests that I really resonate with from the show to teach on our membership platform. So they teach different masterclasses within spirituality. And sort of the intention for our members is to come back to themselves and find that soul power. Because I believe we give so much power away, like I did. And when we come back to ourselves and really feel that power within, where you're being led by your soul and not just the ego, much more soul driven, that's when you also transform the world with your work. So we have a beautiful membership community. It's in English. It's a hybrid of English and Norwegian members. And we have Q&As with the spiritual masterclass teachers. I have my own live sessions. And there's tons of meditations there, so you can actually do practices yourself. And yeah, that's where I would start, to be honest. When we have also a few courses in English, but the membership is where I feel like I can help people and also provide them with beautiful teachings that can really propel their spiritual development forward.
Beautiful. I want to ask you one last question, and that is, after doing all of this work, what do you feel like you know for sure?
Well, I know for sure that what I experienced, that I am love and I'm loved. I know that for sure. Even though I doubt it sometimes in my, dark moments or when I don't feel that much self-love, like in a moment, I can remind myself of that because I know that's the truth. But my ego sort of wants me to, go into something. But I know that's the deepest truth. And I always come back to that. And I'm so grateful for that experience. Honestly, I wish everybody had that experience and that knowing, because it must be so hurtful to be unsure about whether you are loved, you know? I think that's what creates pain also, and addictions and all these things, because we feel like we don't feel good enough deep inside. But I know deep inside that I am love, and that I'm so grateful for that.
Oh, beautiful. Well, Annika, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for what you are doing to wake up the collective. It is so needed right now.
Thank you so much. I mean, you're doing the same, so we're soul sisters.
We are definitely soul sisters.
Together.
And I have to say, I love this so much that in most other genres, we would be looked at as competitors. And I have so many friends who are in this creator group, and none of us look at each other because you said it. We all have something unique that we provide in a different way. And it's all just one more puzzle piece to gather more pieces of the truth.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah, I stopped that long time ago comparing myself, and I realized, oh my gosh, we're just adding to each other. And I'm watching other podcasters.
Me too.
Like getting inspired and like, oh, she does it that way. That's cool. And I know many of the podcasters that are big, like Emilia Ortiz and Alex Ferrari. And Alex helped me. He helped me. Like, I'm so grateful for him. He helped my show have a comeback, actually. He gave me some advice and I followed it. And so huge thanks to him, So when we're just giving to each other, we're just helping the collective. And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, this show is absolutely nothing without all of you who tune in to watch, to listen, and to share these beautiful experiences with somebody who needs it. And if you got this far, you can even just put your comments about what you thought about what Jannecke shared today, or just put Waking Up the Collective. I love to hear from you. And of course, if you still have questions, you can join me for Wake Up Wednesdays live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern. And thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you so much.
Do you believe that love never dies and you want to hear stories that prove it? Well, hit the subscribe button. You belong here.